This episode of the Sloopcast is brought to you by the Mad Canadian Barbecue Company. Mad Canadian Barbecue Company is an Ohio-based company where they say our seasoning will take your barbecue from good to great. Mad Canadian will be at the OLC Shrine Cafeteria in Cary this Thursday from 4 to 7, and over at the Finley Crafted Nano Brewery off of Tiffin Avenue this Sunday from 11 to 6. Be sure to hit up the Mad Canadian social media sites, Facebook and Twitter, to find out more information about him and his food truck. Mad Canadian Barbecue Company, the official barbecue of the Cary High School Blue Devils.
This episode of the Sloopcast is also brought to you by the Iron Bean Coffee Company. Who? The Iron Bean Coffee Company is an Ohio-based, just outside of Toledo in a place called Perrysburg, based company, veteran-owned, veteran-operated. All coffee is roasted to order, so it's not sitting around on a shelf or in a warehouse or in the back of a truck for weeks and months on end. You're getting your beans freshly roasted. They're direct bought from farms in many far-off lands, making the beans both organic and fair trade certified. So you're making sure that the beans are being handled and roasted and shipped with integrity, both coming to the Iron Bean Coffee Company and coming from them and to you. You're making sure that it is fresh and moral the entire way through. So if you want to support a good company from Ohio, owned and operated by a Marine, well, then I bring to you the Iron Bean Coffee Company. The Iron Bean Coffee Company, America's local coffee roaster.
How's it going, everybody? Hopefully everyone had a good weekend. But to get into our standard and grade. Yes, standard and grade here.
Or as we sometimes accidentally refer to it, scarlet and grade. Because, puns.
Yes.
That's how puns
work. All right,
work.
Jared. Let's go ahead and get into it.
We've got barbecue back here. You're all invited. Welcome to the Sloopcast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing right here. How are you doing today, Jared?
I don't have much in the way of complaints. It was a weekend that looked like it was going to be boring, but then it got fun towards the end. But I think we'll talk about some of the chaos, some of the shenanigans in our Tuesday episode. Right now we're focusing on Ohio State. Right now it is Ohio State versus Maryland, and all that transpired transpired? That's the right word, right? From whistle to whistle. And then another whistle, and then another. There were a bunch of whistles. It's a football game. But the point is that Ohio State defeats Maryland 66-17, making it Kyle, I almost had the score prediction dead on again, and then a pick six happened, and one day I'll hit that. One day I'll hit that score prediction dead on. I am no longer in first place on the Sloop picks. I had a terrible week, but again, I think we'll talk about that more on Tuesday than we will today.
Who's in first, Jared?
Out of everybody, or between the two of us?
Yes.
Do you have
the answer is yes.
Do you have the sole lead for the Sloop picks right now, or are you tied?
I am tied with Robert Allen with 27.
There you go.
I told you, Jared, it's a steady climb up, and now.
Listen, you know what? We'll get into it on the Tuesday. That is what the Tuesday episode's for. Right now, we're talking Ohio State and Maryland.
Yes. Yep. Ohio State 66-17 right from the get-go. Thought Ohio State just played very well. Offensively, they could not be stopped. They literally can't, other than taking a kneel to go into halftime. The first stringers touchdown at every drive there. What more do you want to ask for this offense here? Yeah, exactly. Gangland. Who needs a punter? Yes, exactly, because Ohio State did not even punt once in this game.
Ohio State, no punts, 0 punts. Yeah, it did. And last week, did they punt with the first stringers? Because I think Mirko only punted once, and I think it was with the backups.
I'd have to look. I do not believe.
Yeah,
that
Gangland says the one punt for Mirko was during a McCord drive. So there you go.
All right.
I'm just going to trust that Gangland knows what he's talking about.
Yeah. So this game here, before we go into grading out the positions here, Maryland, and we saw it right from the beginning, Maryland had their goal of, you're not running against us, you're going to have to beat us through the air. And CJ Stroud had himself a game. Over 400 yards in the air, about 73% completion rating on there, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 0 turnovers for the team here. It was just a very great game from CJ Stroud here. So for those number of weeks ago who were giving CJ Stroud crap this and should bench him and should start somebody else, I just want you all just to apologize.
Yeah.
To CJ Stroud here.
A lot of people
he's playing amazing right now. This is, in fact, dare I say, he's playing better than Justin Fields did.
Pause. Listen.
Okay.
Let's calm down.
Statistically, he is, Jared.
Did Justin Fields have the wide receiving core as a sophomore, as a second-year player? No, he didn't. This wide receiving core is bonkers.
Look at this, Jared. We got a bunch of yeses in here.
Yeah, but they're all coming from 2 people. That's cheating. Slow down. Let's listen. Maryland and Rutgers are both good teams, but neither of them are great teams. Let's all be very happy about what Stroud is doing. Let's all be very excited about what Stroud is doing, but let's not go overboards now. Let's not go overboard.
Yeah.
The weapons that CJ Stroud has around him right now and by the way, the offensive line too. The offensive line in front of him. Realistically speaking, CJ Stroud's the weakest point of this offense. And that's not a knock on him as much as it is a compliment of everyone who's around him. Look at the offensive line in front of him. The recruiting stars are next level. If you look at that offensive line in front of him, the wide receivers, they did a thing on Fox talking about how basically every wide receiver except Chris Olave, who by the way is pretty good, was basically like one of the top wide receivers in their entire class.
Yeah, the first string here, 0 sacks in the game. I think the sole sack came in the 4th quarter there. I believe it was I think it was McCord was in, I believe. But 0 sacks for this offensive line to let up.
Yeah, McCord took hit my mic. McCord took a 5-yard sack. So yeah, there were 0 sacks on CJ Stroud. And by the way, we were all kind of worried about this Ohio State, during the game, is Ohio State one-dimensional? Maryland's kind of stuffing the run. And two points to that. One, as Kyle said earlier, Maryland made it their job. They said, you know what? Let's let CJ Stroud beat us. And I think in the first quarter, they had Henderson, it was something like 7 carries for 10 yards in that first quarter. So it was something ridiculous like that. I'd have to find my notes here, but yeah, they just found a way, and kudos to Coach Day and the rest of the coaching staff. But
for getting a good game plan, getting Olave open, Wilson open, and Henderson. Henderson 4 catches for 67 yards in this game as well.
Considering he had quote unquote a bad game running the ball, which I think a lot of people are like, oh, Ohio State was a bit one-dimensional that game. He still had 106. He still averaged 6.4.
Yeah.
It's just that his long, we're just so used to seeing Henderson break a long one. He only had 2 touchdowns and his only long was 17 yards.
He had 3, but 2 on the ground. But yes.
Yes. I was referring strictly to rushing. Yes.
All right. Let's get into the grades here, Jared. As always, start with the quarterback here. I think this is 2 weeks in a row. I'm going to give the quarterback an A+ rating here. 73% completion. CJ did not get sacked. 5 touchdowns, over 400 yards passing. A+.
I agree. By the way, I like this question down here from Gangland. Can we use more screens to free up the running game? I think. Love
that wheel route. Love that wheel route by Henderson there.
I think the way they were trying to counter that to free up the run game was, one, as Kyle was saying, throwing swings and wheels out to Henderson in the flat. That was working. So you're still getting Henderson the ball, just in a different way. How many receptions did 4? He nearly in 4 for 60, 4 catches for 67 yards. Slow down, Jared. So he still got that going. Yeah, I know, but in the other way you free someone up in the run game, which is what you saw Ohio State doing, especially in the second quarter, the touchdown pass to Olave being the prime example of it. You start doing some play actions. If the linebackers want to crash the line every time you action to the running back, let them, because you can't stop. You can't stop JSN, Olave, Ruckert, and Wilson one-on-one. If you're going to crash those linebackers in, if your safety's first steps are going to be towards the line of scrimmage because you're actioning towards the running back, Lord help you trying to cover those 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit more on the wide receivers, but before we get to wide receivers, running back here, I give him A+. I thought they did really well. Not being able to break long ones wasn't really against them, but when they were in passing situations, Henderson just becoming a really, really good asset in that pass protection there. As a true freshman here, it is awesome to see. Like, you don't see true freshman running backs get back there and be able to pass block like the way Henderson does.
And you also have to.
It's such an amazing addition to have.
And you also have to factor in what he was able to do catching the ball too, out of the backfield. Mm-hmm. I thought that was maybe the difference between Ohio State struggling maybe a bit offensively and not, because I think a lot of what we were seeing, and again, we're still talking about a quarterback who is in his first handful of starts. We're talking about a quarterback who, doesn't necessarily know every single route on every single play. They're probably still giving him half field reads to be able to just be like, number 1, number 2, nope. I'm going to hit my microphone again. Dump it off to the running back. And then Henderson makes plays. He had a 30-yard reception.
Yep. Gangland asks, does Trevion have a drop yet?
I don't believe so. I would have to look it up.
I can't confirm that.
Yeah. Unsure.
All right. Wide receivers. Wide receivers, I give him an A+ as well.
Yeah.
Out there, just who was that? I think it was Olave mentioned that that it seemed like at the that Maryland thought that the wide receivers were kind of just parachuted into the field. They were just able just to get open with ease. Like we are spoiled this 2021 season. We are just spoiled with this wide receiver group, and just enjoy the run here. Just enjoy the run with Olave, Jason, Wilson, Ibuka coming up and starting to see more time here.
Yeah.
I want to get to Ibuka here later on in our grades here, but Ibuka coming on with the seeing more playing time as well. He has 3 catches for the game here. Yeah, we'll see how he does moving on. But yeah, I give the wide receivers an A+.
I can't disagree.
Tight ends. Ruckert had one he should have caught in one of the first drives there.
Early drop by Ruckert. He short armed that one. Let's call a spade a spade. He knew the safety was coming. He didn't go for it.
Yeah. So maybe an A-. I think A-, able to get some good blocks on. I can't remember which one, but there was a few running plays that tight end had some great blocks there, and I give him an A-.
Yeah,
yes, that's right. It was that Henderson touchdown. Yes.
Yeah, nothing special for the tight ends in the passing game. Ruckert had 1, Stover had 1. Ruckert had that drop you already mentioned, but they did a very good job blocking. So yeah, I think an A-. I think an A- is.
And then the slobs, A+. Yeah. You don't allow any sacks
on your starter.
I don't even know if they had I don't even know they let up a quarterback hurry.
I think so. I think so. I think we saw. I want to say so because I think we saw Stroud get flushed out of the pocket maybe once or twice. But it was rare, and in those situations there were at least like give the defensive backs by Maryland some chance, because it's not like he ever received immediate pressure.
Well, according to the official stats here, Maryland had 0 quarterback hurries, but
I disagree, but that's fine.
All right. Slobs A+ there. And
like
what
we
else
were
we
saying
give
before, the Maryland was like, we aren't going to let you run the ball. We're going to make you beat us passing. And Henderson still got 100 yards. Master Teague looked really good in relief. Only 4 carries, but 7.8 a pop.
And got a touchdown there too. I think it was like 3rd and 5, and they handed the ball off to Master Teague. And I'm sure a lot of Buckeye fans, 3rd and 5, and you hand the ball off to Master Teague, I'm sure a lot of people are probably thinking, "Oh no, we're going to kick a field goal here." Yeah, groan, says Gangland here. But nope, he breaks off an 11-yard run, and again, credit to the offensive line opening the hole there, and he gets a touchdown as well.
Yeah, A+ for the offensive line. I thought they had a fantastic
who else
game.
Gets an A? You want to know who else gets an A+, Jared?
The Mad Canadian Barbecue Company?
Yes, and the Iron Bean Coffee Company as well. Let's do a quick ad break, and we'll get to the defense here.
All right, who's going first?
I'll go. The Mad Canadian Barbecue Company, based out of Cary, Ohio. Great seasonings, great person, great food, and he's delivering all of that in his food truck. You can catch him in Cary this Thursday at the OLC Shrine Cafeteria from 4 to 7 o'clock. So just throw out your dinner plans, go out to Cary, Ohio, and get some of that delicious Mad Canadian food. And also make some room for Sunday. Head on up to the Crafted Nano Brewery in Findlay off of Tiffin Avenue between 11 and 6 o'clock. So you can go there for dinner. You can get there for lunch as well. Just clear your schedule off and go get some Mad Canadian this weekend as well. If you need more information about the Mad Canadian, hit up his social medias, Facebook and Twitter. Just search Mad Canadian BBQ. You'll find him. Get you some more information on him, about him and his food truck. Mad Canadian Barbecue Company, who are the official barbecue of the Cary High School Blue Devils.
This episode of the Sloopcast also brought to you by the Iron Bean Coffee Company. I already told you about them in the first ad read. Marine-owned, Ohio-based, integrity-based, organic, and fair trade certified, and all of that stuff. Well, they also came out with a brand new line of flavored coffees, and one of those flavored coffees is the cinnamon roll. And one of our patrons, one of our Patreons over on the Discord, said he gave us a quick review of the cinnamon roll. He says, you open the bag and it's like stepping into a Cinnabon store. The smell of buttery cream and cinnamon make you wish it was 50 degrees outside. Fantastic, smooth taste. The flavors don't overpower the coffee flavor a bit, but complement it perfect. What else could you ask for? I think that's a fantastic review. I think that's everything you could want in a cinnamon roll flavored coffee. They have, like I said, they came out with a brand new line of flavored coffees. Also, there is a Buckeye, which is a chocolate and peanut butter flavored coffee. There's a butter pecan, a salted caramel mocha, a vanilla hazelnut, and a bananas Foster. That's that new line of flavored coffees. And they have more flavored coffees, including their backroom murder coffees, a few of their standard coffee flavored coffees like the grog, and a whole line of unflavored coffees. You can go check all of these out for yourself over at ironbeancoffee.com. That is Iron Bean Coffee, America's local coffee roaster.
All right, let's hit up the defense here, Jared. Defensive line here. The defensive line had, I'm just looking up here, five sacks for this game, and it also had an additional 4 tackles for loss as well. So a total of nine plays that ended up for a loss there. I'd say the defensive line probably got an A here. They're able to get pressure on the quarterback, made Baby Tua a lot more uncomfortable back there, forcing interceptions, and held the rushing attack to only 1.6 yards per rushing attempt as well.
And that
so I'd give the defensive line a solid A.
I think that it is a bit skewed by the fact that Tua lost Baby Tua, 61 yards rushing because of the sacks. Even on top of that, Maryland gave up on the running attempt fairly quickly. They collectively had over 100 yards rushing between their 2 running backs. But again, I think a lot of those came against the second team late in the game. So overall, I thought Maryland's defense played really well. I thought this was one of the best games by the defensive ends this year, especially considering the level of competition, because Maryland does have a pretty seniored offensive line. Not saying that they're great per se, but it wasn't Akron. These were good offensive linemen. These were good, solid Big Ten starting offensive linemen. And I thought that Zach Harrison had one of his better games of the year so far. Sawyer got his first solo sack of the year. I'm not sure if maybe he picked up a half sack somewhere along the way, but he picked up his first solo sack of the year on a sack strip. So yeah, I thought the defensive ends had one of their best games of the year so far, and the defensive tackles also played really well. Haskell Garrett does get hurt in this game. They took him to the tent right away. It looked bad because it looked like he didn't want to put any weight on his foot at all. It looked bad, took him straight to the medical tent, but then he went to the bench and not the locker room after the medical tent. So that's a good sign. Not a guy Ohio State could stand to lose, especially on a defense so young. Having that sort of veteran out there is incredibly helpful. But sticking straight to this game, I thought the defensive line, especially the defensive ends, had one of their best games of the year so far.
Yep, absolutely. Linebackers here. Linebackers are still a position I still have a hard time putting my finger on, but you have similar to like the defensive line, not letting up many big plays on the ground. Okay in coverage there, so I guess an A minus. Or an A. I thought the linebackers did exactly what they needed to in this game.
Call me crazy. I'm starting to think that I'm getting there, Matt. I'm getting there. I'm starting to think that the 2 starting linebackers, or 3 if you count the bullet, in which case Hickman would be the 3rd. But the 2 starting linebackers for this team should be Simon and Chambers. No disrespect to anybody else, but Chambers is looking incredible when he is out there. He looks disruptive when he's out there. He's fast. He's reactive. He's good against the run. He's good against the pass. I think that the 2 starting linebackers, 3 if you're counting Hickman as a linebacker, 3 with Hickman should be Simon and Chambers. I've been playing with I don't think that's the first time I've said that, but I think this is the first time I'm saying it with this much conviction and spending this much time on it. But I really want to like triple down on. I really think Chambers needs, and he has been, but even then more so, reps at the linebacker with the starters.
Yeah, those are 2 of your top players with most tackles for this game here. Chambers, Simon, and Eichenberg all had 7 tackles in that game. And Mitchell was the older of the group here, and he had himself a pretty good game too. He had 5 tackles in that game, and the one that was pretty memorable was the one where he blew up the play that went wide and took Maryland for a big loss there. So I'm almost there, Jared. I'm almost there. I think Mitchell has his moments too, but yeah, I think Chambers, you can definitely make the argument for that too.
I think Mitchell should get more of the snaps if you're playing. And again, this is what Ohio State was doing this game, because we saw probably among like competitive reps when the starters were still out there. I think we saw Chambers more this game than we did in any other game, which makes sense because if you're playing a more of a traditional like Big Ten run first offense, Mitchell might be the better option. But if you're playing Maryland, a pass first offense, or if you're just up big early and the other team's going to be forced to pass more often, again, like we saw with Maryland this game, I think that Chambers is a significantly better linebacker when we talk about coverage skills than Mitchell.
Well, Maryland here. So speaking of Maryland here, Maryland had 13 different receivers catch the ball in that game. 13.
Yeah.
So they were spreading the ball out all over the place. I mean, their main one folks got their catches when thrown to them, but yeah, they were spreading that ball all over the field all game.
Well, and it's also worth noting that 2 of their 3 best wide receivers basically didn't play. One didn't play. The other got 1 reception and then got hurt on that play. So when you talk about Maryland spreading it around, a lot of that was out of pure desperation on their part.
So the linebackers, Jared, A.
I'm good with A.
All right. Cornerbacks here. Maryland did have 279 yards in the air, 2 touchdowns, also 2 interceptions, another pick 6 here for the defense. How would you rate the cornerbacks in this game?
I have no complaints. Uh,
Even though they've led up pretty much almost 300 yards in this game.
well, you can't put all of that on the corners.
Okay. That's why I'm just asking the question.
Yeah. I mean, Maryland's best wide receiver, statistically speaking, was their tight end, was he not?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's that. You get all of those sacks and all of those pressures, which, at least some of those were caused by coverage. The longest pass was, I believe, on a screenplay or a darn near close of a screenplay. So that wasn't exactly even like a downfield play.
It was a screen to Rakeem that went 43 yards. But other than that one, the next longest reception was 20 yards, and then 18, and then 11, 12, 12. So yeah, they kept everything in front of them there.
So yeah, I mean, I understand. Well, but also consider this is that yes, while Baby Tua throws the ball for 279 yards, it took him 39 attempts to get there. They hold him a very good quarterback, by the way, one of the better quarterbacks in the Big Ten. He just doesn't have much around him but he's still
injuries.
Yeah. Only 7.2 yards per attempt. Compare that to 12.3 by CJ Stroud.
Yeah. So we'll give the corners a solid A in this game too.
By the way, McCord had a yards per average of 8.7.
All right.
You can't just look at the yards.
Safeties here, Jared. How would you rate the safeties here?
I feel like we didn't even think or talk much about the safeties, which is exactly what you want. Like there was the one big play, which is the exact thing a safety is supposed to prevent. We know how you feel, Nomad.
Gangland.
Gangland. Considering again, we do try and grade these things based off of expectation, and I don't think that the safeties without Proctor are ever going to be great this year. But if you can go most of the game without thinking about the safeties, I think that's a win, and I think that's mostly where we were with this game. I don't even. Matthew says there was one play that would have been a touchdown but was overthrown. Those happen. Those happen. That's a thing that happens.
Somebody. I remember seeing it where they had trips to the right or the bottom of the screen, and there's only two Buckeye defenders on that side, and the one played up and towards the middle, and then you had that left two receivers and only one defensive back there, and that defensive back played more of a middle ground zone, and nobody was in that far back there. But yeah, if that was thrown, even it was underthrown, that would have been a touchdown for Maryland.
Yeah, that's right. Everything Kyle just said. Well, Gangland, we don't know that Burke was responsible. We don't necessarily know that. That maybe he was expecting safety help behind him. So I agree with you, by the way, that I think you're correct. But we don't know that.
Yeah. So what would you give the safeties in this game?
B+.
Okay. I was saying A-, but
that's fine.
Yeah, I'll go with B. I'll go with B+ here. So if you look at, couple more here. Special teams here. Jared, special teams here. Are we finally going to break the streak here? Are we finally going to get a touchdown? Are we finally going to get a touchdown from special teams on a return?
So a couple thoughts about special teams. 1, no missed kicks. 2, no punts. No punts for the starters anyway. No, there were no punts, period. No punts, period. And I thought the return game was the best looking Ohio State return game I've ever seen. Well, not ever seen, but like in the past, in like the Ryan Day era, the best return game I've ever seen in the Ryan Day era.
Probably in the last 7-8 years.
Maybe even the Meyer Day era. One of the better return days I've seen for Ohio State. Not one of the best though, because anyway, I'm overreaching. I'm being hyperbolic.
Yeah, Emeka had 4 kick returns for an average of 41.5 yards.
Matthew asks, should Wilson continue to field punts? No. You have all these talented wide receivers begging to get on the field. Why not let Ibuka do it, who also seems to be incredibly talented with it?
I would definitely give Emeka the chance there, unless the special teams coach just doesn't trust having that young of a receiver trying to field punt, especially if they're high and then surrounded by defenders there.
Well,
maybe
part of the problem with having a guy like Ibuka back there is that since he's not getting a bunch of offensive plays, he might be a little too eager to make something happen on special teams and maybe not tossing up the fair catch when he probably should. But that's just how much do you trust him as a special teams coordinator?
Yeah. So either way, A+ for special teams.
Now we'll give them the plus when they get a touchdown. We'll give them the plus.
A+, no kicks missed, no punts here.
They can have an A+ when they score a touchdown.
Wow. Jeez, Jared being so strict.
We have to end the streak. They can't get an A+ until they get a touchdown.
Right.
How long is
coaching,
it been?
Yeah, and coaching here, I'd give him an A too. Just overall great game here.
11 years? Has it seriously been 11 years?
Yeah, it's 2010 since the last time that they've had a return. Yeah, coaching. Yeah, you get an A for this here. You win by 49 points here. Yeah, solid A for the coaching staff.
More than doubled the Vegas line.
Mm-hmm. All right, Jared, let's get into some Ask Sloopcast questions here. Austin Formation leads us off here. Is Olave the greatest wide receiver in Ohio State history?
I'm going to say no, but my God, what a compliment to him that's a good question.
You know what he needs, Jared? He needs to be able to help break that streak and return a punt for a touchdown with only 6 blockers instead of 7.
No, it was 8 people. It was 7. David Boston was the 8th player.
Yes.
Oh,
and
you're
I'm
saying he needs to go
up that.
You're saying he needs to go
one
further.
up that.
Yeah. I think that's a worthy goal. Unfortunately, Ohio State doesn't play Pitt this year.
Oh, darn. All right. Nomad. Over under Ohio State line against Indiana at 24.5. Won't find this out for another week here as Ohio State's off this next weekend. I'd probably say, 24.5, 21.5. I think is probably the number we would see.
If Ohio State's line against Indiana is 24.5, I'm picking Ohio State to cover, and I'm putting my easy money stamp on it.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State wins that game by 30 without trying too hard.
Michigan Bucknut. Did the DBs seem to have a hard time getting off their blocks, or was it just me?
I don't feel like I walk away with that opinion. Burke is not necessarily the best at that so far. He's a true freshman. Let him get some muscle on his body. Well, hopefully Cam Brown's okay, because I feel like he is one of the better guys on the team at that. Maybe. But I think when you have as young a secondary as Ohio State has right now, I think that's going to be a consequence of that. Yep.
All right. Question from Nomad here. After only 6 penalties against Rutgers and 4 against Maryland, will we continue to see a reduction in Ohio State flags? Yes, and I guarantee they're going to have 0 this weekend.
Ha. Funny joke.
But no, that's definitely a great point, especially early on. Ohio State had a lot of penalties in the early games here, really helping out, not seeing as many dumb penalties in this game here. So definitely really liking what we're seeing from what's the word I want to use? Just being mentally prepared coming into the game, not making mental mistakes, dumb mental penalties.
You have an offensive line who's coming together, because even though it was all returning starters but one, they were all in different positions. So they're figuring their stuff out. Their relationship with the quarterback and his snap count is coming together. You just have a quarterback who is gaining experience by leaps and bounds week to week. You have an entire defense of young guys. It's a process of figuring it out, and it's a process of getting better every week. And I think the penalties are just indicative of that. I don't know if that's the right word, but we're moving forward regardless.
Yep. All right. Let's see. Buckeye Zach, could we see Stroud at any point this season cover 500 yards? Is that even possible for a Buckeye quarterback? Will this feat align with Olave attributing to the all-time wide receiver record?
I think the only way we see Stroud get 500 yards is if Ohio State gets into a shootout with another team. Haskins did. It was something about 530. But that was Ohio State in a shootout, was it not? Because Stroud could have thrown for 530 in this game if Day was still as pissed at Maryland as he was a couple years ago. You may have seen that. You easily may have seen that. You might see, maybe it happens against Michigan, because I think Day still has a word or two for Harbaugh. So maybe if Ohio State really takes it to Michigan, or if Ohio State, especially in the playoffs, because I don't necessarily know who Ohio State gets into a shootout with in the Big Ten at the moment, but especially if you get into the playoffs, you get into a shootout with a Bama or someone like that. I think it's possible.
Yeah, he did not get 500 yards. He had Haskins. He had in the Northwestern game. He had in the Big Ten championship game in 2018. He had 499 yards.
Okay.
But then he had a whole bunch of other games. He had over 400 against Maryland, 470 against Purdue, 412 against Minnesota, 455 against Indiana. So he had a number of 400-yard games.
Cool.
All right, let's see here. Nomad with some quick questions here. What is the one aspect of this Ohio State team that gives you pause?
What happens if you play a team with a really great wide receiver core? That would be of concern for me.
For me, it starts with the line there, and it's Ohio State going up against a good offensive line, not being able to get pressure, and it doesn't matter how good of defensive backs and linebackers you have, not getting pressure, you're setting them up to fail. So my worry is the defensive line, especially the defensive ends, not getting the pressure on the quarterbacks. Nomad also asks, which remaining Big Ten team will give Ohio State the toughest matchup?
I'm sorry.
remaining teams.
The team I'm probably most worried about, and a lot of this has to do with the health of Sean Clifford, would be Penn State. I think that they have a talented wide receiver court, which is the exact same thing, or which is the exact thing I just said I was concerned about with Ohio State. McCord, while not perfect, I think is good enough. But that's a health. Did I say? Clifford. Clifford is good enough. So if he's healthy, if Clifford is healthy, we'll see. I think that's probably one of Ohio State's biggest stumbling blocks left. I think they match up well against Iowa because I don't think Iowa could hold up against a team with Ohio State's just athletic power. Nor do I think Michigan or Michigan State can. Penn State's the one team that concerns me. I don't think Penn State is good enough either, gangland. Especially, like I said, if Clifford's out. But they might not be good enough to beat Ohio State 3 times, but they're good enough to beat Ohio State once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's Penn State. Penn State's offense, when it's clicking, it's hard to stop them. I'm not really too worried about any of the other offenses that Ohio State would have to face this year. Michigan State's. What's that?
Oh, Matthew asks, but what dominant offense will we play this season? I don't see one on the current schedule, but the playoffs are.
You want to know who you want to guess who probably has the most dominant offense other than Ohio State? You want to guess who that is?
We're already going over it. Let's not play the guessing game.
It's Sparty.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
Right.
No, Matthew. Not Clemson.
All right, let's see here. Is Tyreek Williams truly a man amongst boys? Asked Buckeye Zach.
Yeah.
Absolutely. At this point in the season, what is your prediction on total season yards for Trevion Henderson?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not trying to play that game right now.
He's at 612. He's at 612 right now. So let's say 1,700. Let's say 1,700.
A lot of it just depends upon his health and if Ohio State gets up big, how many times they even bother to give him the ball because he's a freshman and you don't want to give a freshman a huge number of carries. And I don't know.
I'd say I'll set the over under at 1701. Let's see. At this Nope, they answered that one already. All right, last question. When is the next year of the fullback play going to occur? And did they forget to draw that up against Maryland?
I think, honestly, we lived years as the Schiano defense. What does Schiano like to do? He likes to move his freaking linebackers right up against the line of scrimmage. Which does what? Puts them in horrible position to defend against the pass, which does what? Leaves the fullback wide open on a quick little out route. I think that was Day dialing up specifically against Schiano. Let's not forget that it was all those fullbacks and tight ends that cost Ohio State the game against Iowa during that blowout was against the Schiano defense. I think that was a shot straight across the bow, specifically at Schiano's defense.
Yep. All right, Jared, that is all the questions we have for today.
Kyle, we're going super duper over. I just want to encourage everyone to come join the Discord at discord.thesloopcast.com. Do you have anything in Kyle's corner?
I have a fun date history here I'm going to steal from the GOAT Tony Gerdeman here.
All right.
As we're recording this on October 10th, back in 2018, a certain quarterback was a perfect 10 for 10 passing against Rutgers.
Oh, God.
You remember who that was, Jared?
I do.
Who would that be?
That was Tathan.
It was Tathan Martell going 10 for 10 performance against Rutgers
You want
3 years ago as we're recording this.
do you want to know why Ohio State's better than Oklahoma?
Why is that?
We didn't put our arrogant ass overrated quarterback in the starting lineup and then leave him there for years to try and prove something like Oklahoma's been doing. Yeah.
Boom.
Why Oklahoma is still messing around with Rattler, I'll never understand. More on that on the Tuesday episode.
All right, Jared, that's it for today. Go ahead and end us off here.
Tonight's ending music we brought to you by a local Columbus-based country artist. Her name is Angela Hurley. I believe that's how you pronounce her last name, but this is the Sloopcast, so it might not be. She's playing at the Land Grant Brewing Company, the one that down on West Town Street, this Thursday. So you can go see her play with MIIR at the Land Grant Brewery on this Thursday night. So, with all of that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course, support your local podcasters. Once again, this is Angela Hurley.